Hello, folks. It's very nice to be here. So first of all, I'm going to be speaking in English. So I'd like to ask you to find the channel that you can hear me on. So you're wearing your nice earphones. So can someone tell me, hold up how many fingers, what channel are you listening to me on in English? Channel 10. Okay, cool, thank you. So 12. Okay, so folks listening in English, I'm on channel 12. And of course, you can also navigate to whichever language you prefer to listen to. And actually, a really interesting question right now is the translation you're hearing fully human, or is it AI assisted? And another question is, do you as an audience even care? So I'll be talking a little bit more about that later on, but today I'm here to talk about transformation and consequences in an AI-powered future. My name is Emily Ross, and I am privileged and lucky to lead the brand strategy team at X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. And actually, you know, as I flew in here the other day, I'm from Ireland, by the way. So as I flew in, there's something really remarkable about coming to this part of the world. You fly over the solar fields and the hydro gardens and see these glittering skyscrapers carved out of the desert. And to me, it feels like I'm flying into the future. And especially because I come from a tiny little country on the edge of Europe where it rains 225 days a year, and it's pretty cold and green. So even more so, it just feels like such a change. And ironically, throughout my youth, I was obsessed with science fiction. So I was always fascinated by the future and what it holds. So I'm doubly blessed to be here today to talk about the future of creativity and content in an AI-powered future. Now, first of all, AI is transforming our world in ways that are both hugely profound and also impossible to fathom. But despite all of this uncertainty, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that AI is still just a tool, one of human invention. We've invented many remarkable tools. And you know, even though we may have created thinking machines, it's our thoughts that have brought us this far. Now, if we look closely at all of the tools that humans have created. And by the way, is my audio okay? Can you hear me all okay? Great, that's good to know, thanks. Because I can't hear myself. So there's two kinds of, if we look at all of the tools that humans have ever created, we can kind of group them into two kinds. There are tools for making and tools for sharing. The making tools are creativity tools, and then the sharing tools are distribution and dissemination. Now, the first class of tools of making, they help us take our thoughts, ideas, and feelings and turn them to actual content. Now, this is an AI imagining of an oud, which is a little like the bowl-backed mandolin that my father plays at home traditionally. And that is simply a tool that turns the movement of our fingers into music, just like a chisel turns a block of marble into a statue, or a typewriter turns imagination into stories. These are all tools that take what's inside us and pull it out into the world. Now, the second class of tools are for distribution and dissemination. And all of our greatest distribution innovations, from the spoken word to TV and the internet, these were all huge step changes in the evolution of humanity. Now, our switch to digital over the last couple of decades has shown us that creation and distribution are in fact two sides of the same coin. The meme and the message coexist. There is no context without content. And today, we're living in a creator economy We're living in a world where the tools that we have invented empower each and every one of us to share our ideas instantly with the world. We are no longer reliant on a small number of publishers to shape the narrative of the future. Now, anthropologists use the term cultural ratcheting to describe when ideas or knowledge become so widely disseminated that they seep into our cultural consciousness. I call these no going back moments. AI is one of those cultural ratchet moments. But what's really interesting is that these moments are now happening more and more often. I guess in my parents' lifetime, they would have been, once in a lifetime happenings. And now it feels like we're having one every second week. We're all getting used to that expression, the new normal. Well, that's humanity settling into the next cultural ratchet. To give you an illustration of the acceleration of rate of change around our ratchet moments, consider AlphaGo. So AlphaGo was developed by DeepMind in 2014, and it was designed to play the game of Go. Go is a fiendishly difficult strategy game. It's about 4,000 years old, and it was invented in China. So DeepMind was developed to play Go. And in a few short years, it was virtually unbeatable. They retired the first version of AlphaGo, and then they brought out its second generation. AlphaGo Zero wasn't trained on human gameplay like its predecessor. It was simply given the means to teach itself. And can you guess how long it took for it to beat the previous generation? 40 days. It took 40 days to overpass 4,000 years of human gameplay. Now, one of the most fascinating aspects of X is that it is a tool, a platform that embodies both creativity and distribution. It takes our feelings, our thoughts, and our many, many opinions, and it turns it into content. And not only does it do that, it enables us to share it and to connect at a global level. X is real-time, open source, public by default, and global. And it is quite simply unlike anything else in existence. I call it the API of humanity. It gives users the means to scale ideas from small one-to-many stories around the campfire in local radio stations, and instead turns it into a vast any-to-any network that spans the globe. And it's connecting hundreds of millions of minds all at once. It's kind of worth stepping back for a minute to just marvel at what we as humans have created. Because after all, we are here to tell stories, to connect and share ideas. And of course, you may not have heard of Grok yet, but it's our new AI assistant. And if you haven't been introduced, you can see and play and interact with Grok at the X stand. But it is a new tool, and it helps us to interpret the world's most valuable stream of consciousness in real time, providing up-to-the-minute knowledge of what's happening right here and right now. And we're really only just scratching the surface of what a 314 billion parameter mixture of experts model can do. With such a huge number of parameters, it means that it can handle vast amounts of data and complex tasks incredibly quickly. One of the most interesting cultural ratchet moments snuck up on us and no one even noticed. And this was the moment all our atoms turned to bits. Now, what do I actually mean by that? When I was reading my science fiction books when I was young, I was also making mixtapes on cassette, and I was taking photographs on disposable cameras, and I was burning CDs. Everything was analog. And over time, all of those analog bits have turned to bits and bytes. Our world has gone digital. Ernest Hemingway once asked, "How did you go bankrupt?" And the answer was, well, gradually and then all at once. Change is like that. You don't realize it's happening until it's here. And so this move from atoms to bits is fundamentally important, and I will explain why. What this did was it created the perfect breeding ground for an AI future, because everything that we were creating, all of the output of humankind, was now available to train the neural nets and AIs of the future. Our creativity all moved online, all of it, the music, the words, everything we experience is now very much a digital experience. And this formed the vast expanse of interconnected data pools that make up the indexed web. Up until now, our content, mostly, has been made by humans and for humans. It's a beautiful, chaotic mess, and it's been interpreted by search engines and serving up to us the most relevant content based on our searches. And that content has been harvested, plundered, and used to train the AIs of the future. But right here and now, we really need to mark this point in our evolution of content and creativity. Because from now on, the content in which the next generation of AIs will be trained will no longer be fully human, because those AIs are generating content, that content is being published, and from here on in, the training sets will be iterative and not original. We have to ask ourselves what that actually means, because we do not yet know how to navigate a world where we cannot tell human from machine. Every significant technological advancement that has changed our world has brought about consequences, and some of those have been unintended. I'll give you some examples. We invented the printing press, and this democratized knowledge, but it also triggered huge political and religious turmoil. The internal combustion engine kick-started the Industrial Revolution, but it also triggered climate change. Penicillin has cured millions of lives, but it's also brought about antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which is one of the greatest threats to global health we're facing. Things have unintended consequences, and actually Edward Tenner calls these revenge effects in his book, Why Things Bite Back. So with AI, we know that there are consequences. The careers of the future will be profoundly changed. And listening to His Excellency earlier on this morning, it's so true. We have to embrace these changes. Jobs will be lost, but jobs will also be created. But we have to ask ourselves, what are the unintended changes that we are not yet prepared for? Lots of roles, like bank tellers and financial analysts and radiographers, are already being changed by AI. And this is why I asked our translators, and I can't see them. I don't know if they're being helped with AI tools, and I don't know how their jobs will happen in the morning. Why would you learn to speak multiple languages for years if an app can do it with a touch of a button? And as I asked before, as an audience, do you care? AI accelerates us towards a future that is unpredictable and uncharted. And as the world moves forward, we will be leaving some remarkable skills trapped in amber. For example, auscultation. This is the practice of diagnosing medical conditions using a stethoscope. So a stethoscope was invented in 1816. It's a remarkable piece of kit. It costs about $25 these days. And you know, if an AI imagines a picture of a doctor, you see a white coat and a stethoscope. But today, CT scans, MRIs, these are really reliable and very accessible tools. And it means that doctors don't need to rely on a stethoscope anymore. And in actual fact, it's a lost art. listening will become a vestigial skill. If anyone here has ever taken a taxi in London, a black cab, you may not know that your cabbie will have done a test. It's called the knowledge. The knowledge means you have to be familiar with over 25,000 place names and thousands of landmarks, all within a 6-mile radius of Charing Cross. It takes years to study for the knowledge. But as a result, London cabbies have some of the best spatial navigation and memory skills of anyone on the planet. But today, I can drop into any city, and thanks to GPS and Google Maps, I don't need to take a test. And in actual fact, I can probably do a better job than the driver, because I can tell you where there's congestion, or a traffic jam, or roadworks. And that's great. However, soon we will no longer be able to remember where we came from, or know how to get back. We will only need to know where we want to go to next. Speaking of cars, as autonomous driving accelerates, it may very well be that my sons and their generation will be the last that need to learn how to drive a car. We really ought to ask ourselves, what are the skills we kind of want to hang on to, and what are the ones we're prepared to let slip away? Bring this back to content. Let's ask ourselves, what are the unintended consequences of letting vast amounts of AI-generated content flood our world? Up until recently, content has been relatively inexpensive to create, but the difference between cheap and free is infinite. We face an onslaught of mediocre, 6-fingered content flooding our channels, and we will not be able to tell the difference between real and fake. I think we can do it right now, but soon we won't. And I don't know if you can see in this picture, but that guy has 2 thumbs. In a recent piece for a fabulous magazine called Noema, another Irish woman, Maria Farrell, highlighted that the internet of today has become a fragile, extractive monoculture. And she compares the internet to early forests. And she suggests that we need to learn from ecologists, and we need to consider rewilding the internet. When you take complex organic structures and when you restructure them for maximum value extraction, you're setting them up for mass systemic failure. And what we really need to do is inject a little bit of unpredictability into our world in order to stay beautiful. Herbert Simon, well, actually, this is what an AI imagines Herbert Simon to look like. He's considered to be the grandfather of AI, but he also had a profound impact on multiple areas of expertise, including economics, cognitive science, and AI. And he understood that our intuition was simply subconscious pattern recognition. And from there came the early building blocks of neural nets and AI. He also understood way back in 1971 that in a world where information was abundant, the thing that was in shortest supply would be the currency of the day. And in that world, it was attention. And he coined the term the attention economy. I would go further than that and say today, where information isn't just abundant, we are drowning in information. Today, the thing that's in shortest supply is trust, credibility, and truth. So that means that human content, authentic, verified, real, that's going to be profoundly influential. And in the sea of automated, algorithmically generated rubbish, platforms like X that prioritize verified users, upholding the principles of free speech, that will be where people will turn to first for everything that they need, for their news, for their information, and for their entertainment. Humans exist to tell stories, to have and to share ideas. If we're all swimming in a sea of same, being able to find and connect with our communities, to be able to trust one another, to connect, to converse, that's going to matter more than ever. This is my last slide. I'll leave you with 3 points. First, AI is a tool that is transforming society. We need to ask ourselves, what is the unintended consequences of the tools that we are creating? We need to remember how to listen. We need to know how to find our way home. Second point, authenticity, trust, and truth are in short supply. And so they are critical currencies, and we, as members of the media, need to help our audiences as they navigate a very uncertain future. And last but not least, X is a unique platform. It is there to ensure genuine human connection and creativity in an AI-powered future. Thank you very much.